We're really pleased that we're going to be able to have public worship from the 5th of July onwards here at Pershore Abbey, and we thought it would be really helpful if we just took you through how worship is going to be, so that you feel comfortable when you come to worship and so that everybody can be kept safe. So when you arrive at Pershore Abbey for worship, there will be a side person outside here so that you can queue appropriately with social distancing, so that we can just take our time as we go into church. It's a bit like when we go shopping at the supermarket. When there's appropriate gap, one of the sidesmen will let you into the abbey. And we'll try and stick to this side. There's an information board just to remind us all of the rules and the guidance that we've been following for the last few months. We'll then be invited to come forward. We've got some tables laid out with the things we need to do before we can find our seat. So if you brought a cash collection with you, could you kindly just place it in the bowl? You'll then be invited to come forward to then sanitise your hands. Before moving on to the next table, where in following government guidance, we will be just taking everyone's name and a contact detail, so that should we need to do any track and trace, we know who's been in worship. So, and again, if you've got your own pen, we'd prefer to bring your own pen, that's absolutely fine, but we will take a record of everyone who attends worship here at the Abbey. Then invite you to move along and to take just the top service sheet. There then will be a sides person here, which might be the lovely Graham, who will then show you to your seat. And it's really important that you just wait for Graham or one of the team to show you appropriately where you're going to sit. So as you can see, we have closed off some of the pews. That's just so that we can maintain social distancing during worship. So if you're in the same household, you'll be able to sit directly next to the person you've come to church with, or if they're in your support bubble. But if you've come as an individual, you will be spaced out. Worship will now be a lot shorter and a lot simpler than it was before lockdown. Unfortunately, we're not able to have any singing or hymns, which I know will be a great sadness to many people. Also, we've been guided that not to be too exuberant in our responses and when we join in the service, just to reduce the risk of there being excessive aerosol spray from ourselves to other people. So when we join in the service, we just kindly ask that if we can do that probably fairly quietly and quite muted, would be very much appreciated. We're now going to move on to how communion is going to take place. So when it comes to the distribution of communion, I will come and stand on the chancel step, and it's going to be very much like it was before we had lockdown. So, but we ask you not to move from your pew until a side person guides you and invites you to come forward for communion. As you come forward, we ask you again to please use the hand sanitizer on the little stool in front of you, and then to come forward to me. We're obviously trying to maintain as much social distance as possible. So if it was possible, it'd be really great if when you're receiving communion, if you could hold your hands out as far as it is comfortable for you to do so. And if you can keep your hands quite flat, that would be very good as well. And then I can place the communion host into your hand without touching your hand itself. After you've received communion, if you've been sitting on this side of the church, we invite you to go round the side of the church so you can reclaim your seat. And then if you're sitting on this side of the church, just to, again, observing social distance, return to your pew. So when we finished our service, I know it's a wonderful Abbey tradition that we'd go to the back of church and we'd have tea and coffee and refreshments, and there'd be a gathering at the west door. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that because we're trying to minimise risk and to maintain social distancing. So at the end of the service, I will simply walk out of the Abbey, and I shall go right down the path. And I'm really happy to talk to people, but if we can just maintain that social distance. And actually the side people will enable you to leave in order so that we're not getting gatherings of people inside church. And then hopefully we can all go safely on our way to enjoy the rest of our Sunday.